Now, one of the things that makes the GS1100E a very special, a very collectible bike, in my opinion, is the engine. There's just something about that engine. You ride this bike and you fall in love with the engine. And not every bike has that. Some bikes have peaky throttle response or something else. This engine just pulls like a tractor. And there's so many things about this engine that are just, I think, just way above average. One of them is the throttle response. The power is spread from basically from idle, and you don't have that shuddering when it gets down below a certain RPM below, and you're in one too high of a gear where you feel like you're on a bucking bronco until you shift. You don't have any of that with a GS1100E. The transmission on this bike, sometimes I wonder why they ever changed anything about this transmission. It's bulletproof. The shifting is the smoothest. You could not have a smoother shifting bike. The clutch, easy to work. Every part of that is so well engineered, so, I think, just way ahead of its time, that here it is 43 years later, and you can just run out to the garage, fill up the gas tank, and have a day of riding. But the biggest thing that you'll remember at the end of the day, the biggest thing is always, is that engine. One thing that was very different about this engine than modern bikes are, is when you bought a bike back in the 80s, there were things you could do to the bike, camshafts and big bore kits and bigger carburetors, 4-into-1 exhaust. If you were going to racing, especially drag racing, you could very easily, I don't think it even would be difficult to double the power of the engine. Now, obviously with modern bikes, that's impossible. And the things you can do get you 1 or 2 horsepower here, 1 or 2 horsepower there. But what was cool about this bike, what was really nice, if you were in love with it and you were willing to spend some money, you could do things to this bike. Everybody made accessory parts. The amount of exhaust systems that were available, just an unbelievable thing. And you'd never see 2 GS1100Es that were exactly the same. Every one was unique, different exhaust, different. The carburetors, or they had just an unlimited amount of accessories you could do. If you wanted to really go racing, there were parts within parts within parts. But if you decided you want to keep it stock, as I did, and just go for the high mileage, well, we're looking at 80,000 miles here. It was worth it either way that you handled it. Now, I often think if you go back to the 80s too, drag racing was such a big thing. And this bike really, that engine was one of the dominant engines, maybe the dominant engine of that era. I don't know, but I know so many people were able to do hop-up work on them and just make them incredibly fast. And that was part of the attraction of this bike, is when you bought one, you were buying into that whole Suzuki drag racing thing. Now, as far as I know, it's still going on now. The Suzuki is still very active in drag racing, and this bike is like the legend, I guess is the right word. Maybe the 1000cc one is the legend. I don't know, but I know if you were interested in drag racing, and back in the 80s, everybody was. When you bought a magazine, the only thing they put in was the ET of the bike. It was pretty funny. But anyway, I was interested back then, and I did some drag racing, but what this bike, when I got it from the dealer and I went for that first ride, the engine was so smooth. I got out, I broke the bike in carefully and meticulously. Took a ride to Lake George. Got out on a highway and just couldn't believe how nice that throttle response was. Every part of it, even when you're, and I always say it, even when you're in one or maybe even 2 gears too high, and you want to pass that the person in front of you, or just up the ante going up a hill, the bike has that wonderful, absolutely wonderful power band. And what is really special about this engine is, to me, is that it does everything right. If you want to go for that long 3, 4, 5 hour ride on a highway at 80 miles an hour, it just cruises effortlessly. Now, I have overdrive gearing on it, and that makes it even better for me, and takes a little bit of the strain off the engine when you're out on a highway cruising at really, really high speeds. The bike is so comfortable that it begs you to just keep riding and riding and riding. And it gets pretty good mileage. I'm shocked at how good the mileage is, because I have other bikes in my collection that are not even close. And they should be. But anyway, it was a wonderful day. Every day that you can be out on this bike and experience that engine is a wonderful day. And I always think, even when I get back from a ride, I think, what about the ride do I remember the most? Yes, a bike that handles great, a bike that's comfortable. There's a lot of things to like. A bike you can jump on and go 2 states away. There's a lot of things to like about the bike. But again, and I go back to it over and over again, there's something magical in that engine. In between those engine cases, Suzuki did something that just made that a very special part of motorcycling history. I am so glad I've had this bike 43 years now, 80,000 miles, and it never is boring to ride. And what makes it perfect for me, what makes it valuable to collectors, what might make it special to you for sure, is that engine. Thank you, Suzuki. Now, if you're new to our channel, we have a very, very eclectic channel. One of the new features we have now is some of the videos are grouped into groups that you can access all the videos for one category in one mouse click. And it should be very convenient and very handy. Just check out the feature on the main screen playlist. And thanks to everybody for supporting the channel. We appreciate your support, and it makes this channel possible with all the things we do, the painting, the wheels, the polishing. And please take a second or two and hit the like button. And thanks everyone for watching.